So I would like to hand over to Ken. It's great to have you here, Ken. And your presentation will be shared now. Thanks, Vanilla.
That's brilliant. Thanks so much, Stephanie. And it's great to be able to talk a little bit about the British Academy's experiment with partial randomisation. If you can go on to the next slide. We've been experimenting with this approach with our British Academy Leverhulme Small Research Grants programme. This is a scheme that attracts a lot of interest. We get many applications each year, most of which are fully suitable for funding. These are very small scale, often experimental grants. Are commonly used as pilot studies for small scale projects up to £10,000, the kind of grant where you can really take more of a risk because you're investing a small sum of money to enable interesting and exciting approaches to be tested out. And many of the people who are successful with these grants do go on subsequently to win much larger scale funding from other people. It also helps many early career researchers to get the first chance to be a principal investigator on have their name as a lead on a grant. The characteristic of the scheme, this was a scheme where we received very many high quality applications, far more than we can afford to fund. It required a lot of assessment, as you can imagine. You'll see the numbers in a short while. And they were relatively fine distinctions, you know, the time spent at the final stages of the process deciding really very, very fine distinctions between who could be funded and who couldn't. We established really was probably not the right approach to spend so much time and effort on. The decision to use partial randomisation came about really through our original EDI working group, so it was very much intended as a way of increasing diversity, and that was in terms of geographical diversity, institutional diversity, as well as personal characteristics. We identify, if you go on to the next slide, as partial randomisation, simply because we initially continue to have the normal peer review process to begin with. So all applications that are submitted to each round of the competition are assessed in the normal way to begin with to decide whether or not the applicant passes the quality threshold. And there are the set criteria for the scheme, that is particularly the quality of the research, the methodology that's being proposed, the feasibility of its timescale, and so on. The approach that we found, about 60% of the applications that are submitted to us pass that quality threshold, and they are all then entered into the randomised allocation. There is no pre-selection of the top candidates to be funded. What we've found with this, it allows us to be able to give more feedback to applicants about the reasons for their application if they're unsuccessful, either that they were a particular characteristic that was felt not to be as strong compared to others, or alternatively that they passed the quality threshold but were simply not selected on the randomised basis. The initial findings, we run 2 rounds of competition a year. We've run 3 rounds completed so far, so we're about halfway through the trial that we have set out to start with. We're doing it on 6 rounds or 3 years of competition. We've seen a significant increase in the number of applications overall being submitted. We've seen a significant increase in the pool of applicants, particularly from Black, Asian, and other ethnic backgrounds. We've maintained, both in terms of application submission and in terms of awards, and that's raised something from 18 to about 25% of the pool as a whole. We've maintained the gender diversity that we already had. It's roughly 50-50 in each round of competition in terms of gender diversity. We've also seen a significant spectrum of institutions represented. Something like 100 different institutions are represented among each round of competition in the total we've given. The overall success rate, if you go on to the final slide, is about 27%. We have in fact seen a further increase in the number of applications that were submitted from 22-23 to 23-24. It's now over 1,800 applications. That's over 900 per round. But in the most recent round, the third that was decided on the basis of the partial randomisation, we've actually been able to increase with the funding we've been able to obtain from the government, from Leverhulme and from our other partners. We were able to make 500 awards over the past year, 23-24. So it's maintained a success, although the total number of applicants has gone up, the success rate has also gone up. We are continuing to monitor all of the characteristics. The trial will continue for a further 3 rounds at least. We're evaluating as we go along. But the overall impression we've got is that it has been very, very successful, as I say, in raising the interest among a wide range of people who perhaps self-disqualified themselves in the past, thinking there's no point in applying to the British Academy because I have, whether it's an institutional background or a personal characteristic or whatever, I'm not going to get funded because all the awards will be given to people of a different characteristic. Hopefully, we're very successfully overcoming that. So that's our brief introduction to our work on partial randomisation, and I'm very happy to answer questions at a later stage after we've heard, I think, from Lisa next.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, I think Fenella's going to put Lisa's.
While I do that, do you just want to answer a quick question from Jack Leahy? What is the % of fundable applications per round?
Sorry, I switched my mute. It's about 60% that pass the quality threshold. So we are able to fund something like half the applications that are put forward. It slightly varies from round to round, but it's on average about that. And that's something that we're very proud, because they're small scale grants, we're able to give lots of them.